married, not dead. There it is. There it is. My son said something in the car on the ride home tonight. And I was replying to an email while I was driving. Not the thing you really want to do in front of your kid that's about to drive.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. By yourself when nobody's watching.
Yeah. Also,
asswipe. Are we doing 85?
Oh, yeah. I was 15 miles over the speed limit, by the way, on top of that. So I'm checking my email and I see this email from this lady I work with. And she's asking me a dumb question. And I say out loud, stop asking me questions. I just said it out loud. Like, damn. He's like, who's that, Mom? I was like, no. I said, that's my wife. I wanted it. I don't care if she asks me questions. It doesn't bother me. And then he kind of whispered, he was like, well, it bothered me. I said, then don't get married because that's all they do.
That's sound advice, Papa.
Yeah, this is the kind of jewels I'm dropping on my son these days. I said some strange things to him today. I said that today. This afternoon, I said game, recognize game. Like it's just general advice. Here's some general advice, Camden. Game, recognize game. Okay? That's what I told him. What was the
context?
School, trying to fake it. I was like, you got to understand, like, you're not going to be able to do fake effort and fake work and expect real results. Like, you think you're fooling your teachers, you're not. You think you're fooling your parents, you're not. And potentially, most sad of all, you think you're fooling yourself. Right? Like you've fooled yourself, I should say. Like you believe the shit that comes out of your mouth. Like, but real people recognize real people. Right? A hustler recognizes a con man. Okay, so you're conning people. Stop it. Use your smarts, your talents for good. That's all, you know?
Were you saying that you were the other game? Or the teacher was the other game?
Me, teachers, coaches, everybody.
Okay.
Because he's got this personality default, man, or defect, where like he will assume that he is on par or is a peer of an authority figure, either in age, in guardianship, or in experience and skill. So we paid for him to have a one-on-one coach years ago, basketball. Why is he telling the coach, like, no, I don't think that's going to work for me. I'm trying to be this kind of player. Boy, you don't know what kind of player you're trying to be.
Why you got a coach, boy?
Yeah, like, boy, what are you talking about? Like, are you trying to, do you realize how disrespectful you being to this dude? This dude's played basketball his entire life. I think you should just not talk and just soak up everything he's trying to tell you.
Is that how you said it to him?
You know, so I can't remember what I said at the time. It's like 2 years ago. One of those co-parenting things where you pay half, she pays half, and we see what comes out of it. And it wasn't like the coach was cool as hell. And Camden enjoyed it. But at the same time, he just has this little thing where he, you know, he'll talk to you like you're even, like you're equal. And a lot of people aren't playing that.
You got to remind him from time to time.
Yeah, like a lot of people aren't playing that. A lot of people are like, you know, watch how you talk to me. Kind of, you know, so
they check him.
Right. Like, don't do that. And then he kind of picks his spots, right? So he'll compliment you on something that he knows you're insecure about or something he knows you're working on or it matters to you so that you will then, you know, treat him nicer. Like it's this really weird thing. I'm like, dude, don't turn to the dark side, man. Use all that stuff. Go be a politician. Go be a lawyer. Go be a consultant. Go into sales. You know,
this isn't on you for that moment. Like
use your.
Where'd he get that?
Use your power for good.
Where'd he get that? Do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I have to be involved in some way or another because I'm his dad. But at the same time,
yeah, I mean, maybe there's other people.
He wasn't raised with me, and I think that what happened is he learned. he learned so we're talking about traditional men. He learned the feminine way of manipulation. So call me sexist. Call me a sexist. Call me a traditional. Right, call me a traditional man or whatever you want to call me. Call me antiquated.
Maybe, but tell me what you mean by it. Like, explain that a little bit. Like, what's the female?
Oh, he didn't say female.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did he say?
Feminine.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, that has to be female.
No, it doesn't. Remember?
Yeah.
No. There's differences. Gender versus your feminine and masculine.
No.
We have feminine and masculine traits, homie.
No, we don't. We have effeminate. Sorry. You know what? That's a good lesson for all our listeners out there. A male can never be feminine. He can be effeminate.
No, a male can have feminine traits. Nope. Feminine traits are those most often attributed to women, but don't necessarily have to come from the gender of a woman.
So only in action is it effeminate?
So just like masculinity, right? These are traits that are normally attributed to men, like aggressiveness, strength, but those traits are also found in women. Mm-hmm. So there's the difference between that and gender, sure, you could have, which is very specifically male and female.
One might have feminine qualities, but if it's a man's actions, they're effeminate. They're not feminine.
But yeah, that's what the difference. Masculinity and femininity are different from the gender of male and female.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson.
Either way, I'm saying the point is he has that thing that he understands what he needs to say to get the outcome he wants, and he's able to twist your arm through words and through the twisting of language to get you emotional, to get you off the center. Right. So for example, he might say something completely terrible to his mother, something that's unacceptable. In order to get your eye off of the target, he might come to me and say, Dad, that's why I should have moved in with you a long time ago. You guys understand me. I would have been so much better at school. See what I'm saying? He'll say things like that. And you have to be careful because you're like, maybe that stuff is true, but what are we talking about right here? Like, what is the origin, of these compliments, of this speech? Oh, he's trying to get me to forget that he did something unacceptable. He did something unacceptable, and he's trying to play sides, right?
And play your emotions.
You're the good parents. They're the bad parents. So because they're the bad parents, they can go to hell, and it doesn't matter what I say to them. Wrong. Nope.
Right. You gotta say. Or I never would have said that if it was with you, because you get me, right? So they're the ones who brought it out of me, right? Putting the blame as well. So it's some tricky stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, like he'll go to a teacher and be like, he'll go to a teacher and be like, you got to take this grade. You got to take this late assignment. You got to take this late assignment. Teacher's like, no, we have rules. You can't take it. Well, if you don't take it, I'm going to get in big trouble at home. And he'll intimate that we're going to abuse him. What is a teacher listening for? The teacher's always listening for bad home situation. Yep. Okay. Right. The alarm bells go off. He gets what he wants. Well, in this particular case, one time he didn't get what he wanted, even though he said that. Instead, the teacher emailed us to check on him. We said, that's all bullshit. It's all good. He turns around, goes to the guidance counselor and says, this teacher, right? So what's the guidance counselor listening for? Guidance counselor is checking for teachers who are abusing their students, or students that are lost, or students that are, you see what I'm saying? So the guidance counselor's all ears. 5 minutes later, I'm getting an email from the guidance counselor telling me how articulate and wonderful and charming my son is.
So, not that I haven't been manipulated by a woman or 10, but I don't want to necessarily attribute emotional manipulation to the female of the species. I think that's a little more universal. Now, maybe your approach to manipulation, but this seems pretty equal, doesn't it? Doesn't manipulation? I mean, don't we all manipulate in our own way? It's just the level of severity.
Well, there's a different type of, I feel like the type of manipulation he uses is the type of manipulation you use where you learn as a young child, like you figure out how to get ice cream at Dairy Queen or at Baskin Robbins. This is the type of manipulation you learn when you get a toy.
You're saying he most likely learned this from a woman.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think he learned it from his mom and all of her girlfriends that he hung around. That's why I say it's kind of, there's a femininity to it that's like, because he doesn't get what he wants the way that I think men
typical male would.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, okay, historically, my job is to be an example of another way to get what you want, because you can get what you want both ways, and you can get paid being a con man, but you risk going to jail. But you can get paid in a ton of jobs that need communicators and are able to describe things in a way that are influential and get paid
persuasion.
That way. And persuade. Yeah. So you can be great at persuasion, and it can be positive. And you can be great at persuasion, and it can be negative. So those are the kind of things that I deal with him. But when I look at the global response, though, fellas, like, okay, when I got him, he was an F&D student, and he had been getting by on teachers that liked him and were passing him, even though he didn't deserve it. So that's happened probably twice, where he's been able to pass on charm. And now he's a BC student. So he understands that consistency is the rule here. So it's not personal. We're not like, his mom does a lot of ad hominem stuff. So he does a lot of ad hominem stuff, right? And they can't even be in the house together more than 12 hours now.
Example.
Camden. His mom might be talking amongst people and in earshot. Cam might be in earshot, and she might say, well, Cam's just not smart, or he just can't do it. And so we should go easy. So you hear that your whole life, then it doesn't even matter if you believe it or not, you know how to use it. Now, anytime he has homework and she's supposed to grade it or help, he can be like, this is too hard. I'm not smart. And she'll be like, right. So then he manipulates her. Well, when she decides she's had enough and he's going to do it anyway, then he can say what hurts her most, which is, you're a terrible mom. Right. And things like
this
that.
This is tough, man.
Like ad hominem stuff, like against the man kind of stuff. So personal attacks, and we don't do personal attacks over here. So we just say what it is. And we just lay it out like the truth, like bluntly, this is what it is. It's not personal. I'm not mad at you at all, but you are going to do it. So you can cry or you can just go do it. Either way, I'm straight. And
either way, it's going to get done.
Right. Because I've changed so much in the last 20 years. It's crazy. But when it comes down to some of this stuff, it just like, for me, I don't tend to have the emotion around it that, and I learned a long time ago, especially in co-parenting, you have to let go of what you can't control. You have to be willing to my wife struggles with that, man. My wife struggles with that, fellas. She struggles with it. Babe, you have to let go of what you can't control.
Nah, because she's a winner, right? So there's with her, there's got to be a solution. We talking about you can't control. Yeah, I know Sal, man. It's like, no, there's a way to crack this nut, and she'll hit that sucker, every which way possible.
Drive herself crazy in the meantime.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm telling you,
that's drive though, right there, man. Yeah. But because especially with Sal, to say she's been successful at it so many times, it's like, why not this time?
Right.
It's hard.
She's succeeding now. And I think with Camden's response, because she plays a big role in the schooling, and she's done well with Ayanna, and Lyndon's doing great. But here's what I told her father. Her father and stepmother came over, spent some time with us yesterday, about 3 hours, actually. We thought we had 1 hour. It was 3 hours.
Your wife's father.
My wife's father. I love him, by the way. This dude's like an entrepreneur. That was one of the things that attracted me to. That's one of the things that attracted me to Sally. Is both her parents were entrepreneurs, so I knew I could learn something from him. But he's been very successful, and we had this talk out loud, just in the air, about about our son and what we're trying to do, and she was saying how I just I had this thing where I just let it go, and letting it go is not going to help him. And I have this thing where I say, babe, you got to let it go, because he's got to learn how to be a man. And so we got to this point where we were having this conversation back and forth. And I was like, well, babe, we're not talking about the same thing. You're talking about making him a better student. I'm talking about making him a better man. So that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on he's going to be an adult in the real world in 3 years. I'm focused on Ayanna being an adult in 1 year. I want to help her be a great adult, successful, and be able to take care of herself. You're talking about what it takes to get grades. We can do their work for them. We can help them all they want. But at some point, they have to say, I want this too. They have to have the temperament of someone who wants to go out and achieve something and leave their mark in the world. And sometimes that comes along quickly. Sometimes it comes along later. And I'm a great case study for that.
So what's the deal? Do you guys come to an agreement, and you can have a little crossroads, inroads type of deal where you're like, oh, okay, well, how do we get to both?
Yeah, I'm proud of her, because it didn't turn into an argument at all. And I think maybe 10 years ago it would, and it'd be embarrassing. And her dad is so good at sort of diffusing conversations that can get tense. And I'm not going to be yelling. I'm not going to be like, I'm cool. I'm just sitting back, just stating the facts. But when those facts are questioned, she can get passionate, and I'm a little bit less like, okay. I mean, and I take constructive criticism pretty well. Just in my experience, when I've seen other people get criticized, they don't take it as well as me. Like you can say some things about me, and I'm going to be just fine, and she's not. For example.
Yeah, great. Nobody cares about you. Did you? What I'm curious about is, were you able to relay? Was your sentiment understood when you relayed it? Because I don't think it often is. Well, at least I think it's accepted sometimes, and maybe, yeah. I mean, I'll do that. I'll play the gender game here. I think that's something that daddies do teach. Whether it's the male or female child, is the importance of that. Like they can relate that, and I know that would be maybe modernly unpopular to say that, but yeah, I mean, you're trying to get him to be a better student. That's great. I also need him to know how to be a better man.
Exactly.
I think that's I don't want to say that's the thing that only fathers can do, but I think that's a thing that fathers tend to focus on for the most part.
It's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I said that out loud. I said, well, I'm his father, so I'm focused on making him into a good man. I think that's as important or more important than being a good student to me. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't define.
Because if you're a good man, you can be a good student. But if you're a good student, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good man. See, it didn't work. So it didn't work both ways.
So what does it mean?
It means he's equipping him for life.
Right. So that's
he's going to do that. He's going to do that for his daughter. He's going to do that for his son. He's going to do that for his children. Right. I mean,
it's a little more painted than that, though, don't you think? Though.
Well, I think it's easier to put a label, and it's more
being a good student
accepted to put
prepared for life. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't believe preparing a child to be a good student is preparing them to have. I mean, I know one particular person that was extremely intelligent, but they weren't really equipped with life skills. So it's taken them a long time to kind of come to grip with that, right? So, you can be very studious, but, not really be able
one
to.
doesn't, lead to the other, but I'm saying we agree that, we've had that conversation about getting our children the best education and make sure they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
These are included in, trying to make good students, because that can equate to a better life if you have that ability.
Well, there's two different types of education, right? There's your education, your academics, and then there's your life skills.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
And it's more on the father or on the parental unit to provide the life skills.
Right. Because here's the deal. When your kids get older, and Brian, you're experiencing this now. Nick, I know you've experienced some of this now. Your kids start to they're different. And the last thing you want, I'm telling you, your kids, if you fuck it up, they might shoot you in your head while you sleep. like you don't want a Menendez brother situation. Those motherfuckers were rich. They were rich. They had everything in the world. They could have just coasted. They could have been the Kardashians, and they decided to smoke their parents. I'm like, dude, what did their parents possibly could have done? What could they have possibly done? So they didn't make those people into good men. Or maybe there was mental illness there. I don't know. I don't know the story well enough, but the point is you can be rich and you can be in good schools and you can be a great student, but you can be completely unprepared for how to handle a situation the right way. But it's one of these things where, okay, so it's not just about him. Like sometimes I have to get on my girls too. And again, it's a guy thing. A lot of girls just, they don't understand the way a guy will. And I wonder if that's changing in our culture. So for example, I was helping with Ayana's college entrance essays, and she's not a great writer. It's actually her biggest weakness. So on her ACT, they break it into different parts, where her lowest score was in writing in English, which is a 25. That's what she got. 25, 23, something like that. So
academically speaking, that's her weakness.
Yeah, it's her weakness. Yeah. So she's not a great reader. So in turn, she's not a great writer. Usually they go hand in hand, and she's no different. And so
sometimes they don't.
Right. And so I was brought in to write, but I'm a dude that is busy. Like I'm a dude that's legitimately being pulled in every direction. So she's coming at me like, where's my essay? What, chop, chop, Dad, chop on my essay. Like she's literally saying that to me, like chop, chop, that language. And I'm like, girl, if you ask me again, I said, I told you I was going to do it, right? And before I was still talking, she went inside, closed the door on me. I was like, okay. So I went inside and just was like, Ayana, I went kind of crazy, actually. I was like, you're so unappreciative. It's driving me crazy. Like you can't. And then the other women chimed in on me. You said you're going to do the essay. You need to do the essay. I'm like, I said, every one of you bitches. I was like, not even on some Key and Peele shit. I didn't whisper.
You was like, bitch,
right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't like,
you said bitch. You said bitch.
I wouldn't like, bitch.
Yeah.
I was like, every one of you bitches are so ungrateful and entitled. I can't stand it. And I left and I went recycling. I came back. I gave them a second to think about it.
Good for you.
I said, I'm out here. I came back and said, listen, I'm out here recycling in the rain. I'm doing your essay. I said, it's cheating. Do you understand? This is your college essay. I already did this. I wrote an essay to get into college. I didn't even have the grades. I got in on my essay. True story. My GPA was a 69. Facts.
Well done.
Hashtag
well
facts.
Done.
I had to write an essay to get into college. So I've already done that. It's your turn. So if you're asking me to do it for you, then you need to chill. You need to chill, let me do it my way, and let me get it done. and they gave me hugs.
Like,
they apologized to me, and everything was copacetic. But
I do like how you used your extreme hardship to explain it to them. You know, recycling in the rain.
Yeah, I'm in the rain. It's like a sad novella. It's like a novella. All the cardboard's getting wet. Yeah, have you seen wet cardboard and what it can do to you?
Yes.
See, I understand because I skipped on Sunday recycling. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Because of the rain.
Because of the rain. Yeah. So I'm there with you.
I went and did it. And
I feel your pain.
That's right. That's
I do want to revel.
Yeah.
I do want to revel in the fact that you had a 69 GPA. And that's well done. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, man. That's real talk. That's what I'm saying. I was a totally different person 20 years ago. And I say 20 years ago because I graduated right before my 20th birthday from high school. Like that's facts. That's the truth. So I always have a sense of confidence and cockiness about me. And I don't understand guys who don't have it because I pulled myself out of that ditch because my family and other people, for the most part, had given up on me. I mean, maybe not my dad and my mom, but everyone else was like, that dude's headed to prison. Right. So that was, to me, I don't understand excuses about, or the I can't mentality. I've never understood the I can't mentality. We've talked about that before. So because there's nothing you can't do.
I'm there with you on that.
Yeah, there's nothing you can't do. So anyway, they gave me hugs and apologized. So at some point, that sort of masculinity, that male role thing came through. And I just think you can't lose it because it's so necessary in certain situations because they thought they were right. They thought they had made a demand and it's your job to fulfill it. No. You know what my days tell my mom? Don't ask me to do something and tell me how to do it. I love that shit.
Yeah, that's a classic.
That's true,
one.
but didn't you still do it?
But I did it my way and I did it on the time I did it. I need to do it. I've spent the last 2 weeks doing a ton of work for everybody, including myself. But this essay, even though it is a deadline kind of thing, at the same time, it's got to fall in line with other priorities, right? You guys know I just got this house. Right. You know how hard it is to take a house in a transitioning neighborhood that's in complete disrepair and then make it like livable and completely furnished in 2 weeks. Man, that was so much work. I can't wait for you guys to see it, but it was so much work. So I didn't have the time to do it, you know? So when I sat down and I locked my door, I turned on my dehumidifier, I got the little essential oils, Nick. Yeah. I got one called Be Cheerful, one called Focus. I put the drops in there, turned that thing on, and just got to it, man, and pumped out a killer essay. But
when you're talking about this, go ahead, Jason. You wanted to say something already. Go ahead, man.
No, yeah, I just wanted to point out. I think what you tried to get across and what you did was important, but I'm saying the only reason, I think it's important that the only reason that she felt qualified to talk to you the way she did originally before you corrected her was because of the shared sentiment of the group and that all the women taught her that and that's okay to talk to people like that. So that was the real lesson there. And in the end, they still got you. And I'm not saying they got you because you were doing what you needed to do for your child, but like it seemed like a kind of a universal disrespect for your time, and like an agreed upon female disrespect of your time.
That is what I'm saying to you. That was the first point, even about my son and that trait. So again, I don't know if that makes me a sexist, but I see that trait come out. Like
no, it doesn't make you a sexist. Men don't do that to other men because men understand that a punch in the face can be the next move. Right. But what I'm saying is a lot of uncorrected, and I don't mean by corrected by a male, but I'm just saying a lot of females don't do that. It's just a negative quality. I don't care what gender you are. Like that's a learned behavior, and maybe they did. Maybe your daughter and your son are both learning it from the females, but like you just had an example in your own in your own home of how you totally disrespect another person's time and demand that they do something, and then after you insult them, you apologize, and then they do it anyway. So that's true manipulation.
Right. And that was kind of the deal. So I was going to do it. I had set aside the time to do it. It was happening on Sunday.
Right. You were doing it
regardless because there was a deadline. There's a deadline that you have to turn everything into these colleges. And so we're up on that deadline. So I was doing it either way. So that was important. And I think the other factor is that when I came in a rage, what had happened was my wife wasn't aware of what my daughter had done. So she thought I was coming in like making excuses. That's why I hadn't done the essay.
Does it matter?
Exactly. Exactly.
You don't ever.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I've gone over this with. I've tried to preface this with my wife. Or like so. It doesn't matter for context. If I come out of a room and I say to my child, I will or I won't do this. You don't need to know the goddamn context for you not to pipe off. You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it to you. Like, if you came out of there screaming at her, I am not going to do your essay. I don't care what it means to your future. Well, then if there's an issue with your statement on that, then the spouse needs to take you aside and go, what's going on? I thought you said you were going to do the essay. It's not calling you out in front of the child, because what the child learns then is I can call the male out. Doesn't matter. I'll embarrass him. I'll put his balls on the table and wave the hammer over him. So, yeah, I mean, from a male perspective, I'm totally bothered by that. I'm totally bothered by that. You were absolutely in the right, and it didn't need any explanation. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And that's,
but I feel
that's
like
what we go back and forth.
I feel like we're in this world though, where that type of feeling is, might be wrong now.
Where as soon as you open your mouth, your balls go on the table.
Yeah, because the balls create a disproportionate balance in the household. The balls are heavy, you see, and I think
when you smack them,
I think the world we're raising our sons in is one where the balls need to be a little bit lighter.
No, I think it's just this. We talk about that evening the playing field. I think Jason's saying some of it like, well, that's not really about being a man. That's just, character. It's not really about being a woman. That's just character.
But a good person.
Yeah, but I swear, in a lot of us, I'm one of these us's included, right? There's something still there that I feel so inclined to teach my son, right? There's certain things like I don't, and maybe it's wrong. I don't care. Call it out if you want. I'm still going to do it. When it comes down to it, I want my son to give somebody a firm handshake, but that's not something I'm teaching my daughter. Like I said, anybody can say whatever you want about it. Go for it. I don't care. I'm teaching my son firm handshake. Like, I just feel like that's something as a man I'm supposed to pass down to my son. So I think that there's stuff like that still exists, maybe should exist, and maybe it just gives the role of the husband, father, whatever, man. It gives you some sense of specific or unique purpose, right? Where it's not just everybody's all in, like, hey, we're partners and we all just do everything. It's like, nah, I have a responsibility here, and this is what I feel like it is. But go ahead, Chris.
No, the thing is, and you change, and your principles sort of undulate and move with your kids and your family. And when my oldest daughter was young, I used to repeat to her that I want her to be graceful, that I want her to be beautiful, that I want her to be sort of these traits that were almost princess-like. Well, I haven't said that to her in a decade, probably, or maybe just under, because the tide changed. And I realized what kind of girl she wanted to be. And because of that, grace, maybe I needed another adjective. And beautiful, she is beautiful, right? But do I really want her to be concerned with her beauty?
Right. Yep.
No, not in the age of reality TV. Right. And
maybe not her physical beauty.
Right. And so, I'm telling her these things now.
You don't teach the other part.
Yeah. Now these things are all about, I want you to go be who you want to be, seize the moment, educate yourself. It's just a different narrative where before I had this classically traditional male stance on who I wanted my daughter to be and what would make me proud as a father. But she hasn't had but she didn't turn out the way I thought she might turn out when she was 6 or 7. She hasn't had a boyfriend yet at 17. I didn't predict that. I predicted she would have a boyfriend at 13 or 14. So now that she hasn't had a boyfriend at 17, it's a whole new ballgame. She's not interested in the things that I thought I was going to have to protect against.
Right. I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything inherently wrong with stressing the masculine traits in boys and the feminine traits in girls when you're raising them? I mean, I'm going to throw this one over at BC because I know he's got a mix too. So, what do you think, man? Is there inherently anything wrong? Should we just be evening the whole playing field? There's no princesses, there's no superheroes, as in separate for boy and girl. It's just hey, I'm going to throw the Iron Man toy and the Barbie doll on the table, and whichever one they go for, they go for. It's what do you think?
I find myself sometimes kind of correcting my. So I have, the youngest, she's 4. Then I have a 6-year-old, and sometimes the 6 and the 4-year-old will play together, and he likes dogs. So he has all these stuffed animal dogs, and he'll try to play with them like they're babies. And I first caught myself saying, no, you can't do that. But then I was like, you know what? No, yeah, you can. Go ahead. It's fine. Because when he's got the little stuffed dog in the extra baby carrier that my daughter has, and he's got it tucked in, and he's giving it a bottle. I'm like, no, you can't. Yeah, you can. It's okay. Go ahead. And it's funny because I basically have taken over my daughter's soccer team, and I've coached all boys up until this point, and now I'm coaching girls. And I'm using the same techniques and the same games that I use with the boys. And at first I had that thought of, do I play sharks and minnows where, the minnows are bringing the ball down and the sharks are the defenders and they're trying to attack, trying to teach aggressiveness, because that's ultimately their biggest weakness is do I change it? Do I make it some kind of more gender specific, role, gender role, that they would be more accustomed to. And I was like, no, fuck it. We're playing sharks and minnows. You girls are sharks. Give me your best shark. So I've really been stressing. It's interesting that you asked me that, because that's kind of been on my mind lately, especially with coaching. Yep. And not only my child, but multiple. We're talking. I got 8 kids. So it's and they're all they all just take right to it. And, I'll say this, I took over about 3 games ago. And since I've been teaching them more I taught my son my 2 sons when they were 6 and 7 and 8, I'm teaching them that they are more aggressive. They aren't getting dominated anymore. My daughter scored 5 goals. You know what I mean? They're all taking to that and being more aggressive and being more assertive.
Nice.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. So and let me be sexist for a minute and say, not only is she doing that with the goals, she's also freaking adorable.
I appreciate that.
My wife saw that and she's like, "Oh my Lord, I could eat that one." I was like, "She's awesome." It was a great picture.
Oh yeah, I showed my wife too, man. That stare she had.
The determination.
She gets that from me. At you. Yeah, that's from me.
Yeah.
That's why I told my wife, I was like, I don't care if she ever got anything else from me. That look right there, when I'm doing something, that's what I do. And she's rolled of course my wife rolled her eyes at me.
Of course she did. That's what wives do.
Yeah,
that's right.
So Brian, I was going to say for me, we have that, I want to say that it's traditional, but it's passing down our likes to our kids. So we're split in our family, the masculine and the feminine with what we do with our kids because of us, right? So we do the things with our kids that we like to do as kids. You know, so like my wife is a girly girl and she did all the girly girl stuff. She's got, you know, dolls and all this stuff. So, and she had always envisioned passing that stuff down to her daughter, you know? So nowhere in my wife's head does she think she's, you know, her daughter is a girl and therefore a woman must be, you know, a mother first and take care of babies. You know, it's just more like, she had fun playing with dolls as a kid. So she has my daughter playing with, and my daughter loves them. You know, it's like she's like a little mini her. And then with my son, it's the same deal. You know, I like playing with Legos and superheroes and getting dirty and playing soccer. And that's what my son does. You know, but it's very like, if you look at them, it's like, you know, okay, Noah, what's your favorite color? Blue. Livy, what's your favorite color? Pink. You know, what's daddy's favorite color? Blue. What's mommy's favorite color? Pink. You know, just, that's just the way it's kind of working out. So, you know, in our heads, I guess we're not really on that, you know, a boy must be a certain way, but it's just, we're just kind of just passing it down, you know, and I don't know if it's, right now it's cute, it's fun, they're having a good time. You know, I think we'll teach them jointly the character traits that we want them to have in whatever role they decide to take on, you know, equally, you know, gratitude and all that kind of stuff. But we're definitely have this kind of, this boy-girl split just by nature.
It feels traditional, you mean?
Yeah.
In that?
Yeah. We talk about the traditional man. There's also the traditional woman who sort of embraces that and wants that to be. And my youngest daughter plays with dolls too, but then at the same time, she plays soccer and climbs trees. So I think it's cool.
Yeah,
you kind of sit back and you let them just be. Yeah. You just sit back and let them be who they're going to be. But I think at the same time, as a culture, we have to stop trying to deny that one has a lot of testosterone and the other one has less.
Absolutely. We have different brains. It doesn't matter. You know, you can do and you can say and whatever we want. There's different chemicals in it, and they're running different factories there, you know? So, yeah, you got to cater to those. You have to be careful of them. And that's something to make note of.
Yeah, there's a reason why his son wants to get dirty and play soccer.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. and that's what I was going to say. Like in, you know, you could say modern society, in the media, whatever, you're seeing some of these things pop up where, you know, sexism is becoming a thing, you know, it's like a big thing in the media for a number of reasons. And some of it you can, you know, we've talked about some of this stuff before and we could be like, yeah, we agree. Dude shouldn't have said that. Dude shouldn't have done that. But sometimes I feel like it just gets crazy, you know, where things just get blown out of proportion, you know, and sometimes it just feels like why are we even having that discussion? Like, why is it a problem if this is what masculine means to me, right? Why is it a problem if this is what feminine means to you? You know, it's like, why are we why is it a debate? Why is it a big issue? Why is it front page news? So sometimes I just feel like, you know, dang it, just freaking leave it alone, you know? Yeah. But I get it. But yeah, I'm just like, just let it be.
Well, mainly because it sells. I mean, that's going to be the first one.
Yeah.
And the world is where it is because of what sells. So, I mean, yeah, but beyond that, yeah, I mean, why is that a deal? Or why do if I feel that there's a difference between genders, why is that a deal? Yeah, I mean, it's an excellent question. Why is it a deal?
I look at this situation, guys, where like Cam Newton was in last week. And these are times where I love being biracial because I get to hear how different groups and cultures feel about the same issue and then bring that back home. I get a unique view into that. It's really cool. I'm talking to a bunch of my black friends. We're all in the parking lot just chatting after a game. And we bring up the Cam Newton thing. Let me tell you something. I got news for you. Black people don't give a fuck. Right? They don't give a fuck because they had too much other shit is going wrong.
That's right. That's right.
People who care about shit like that don't have other shit in their life to worry about.
Do you want me to challenge that? I'm not going to challenge it.
Yeah, you can challenge it, but I'm just saying if you're offended easily, you're a bad resource allocator.
In a different way. It's not positive.
Like, why are you, why? why do we? I get what he said was offensive, but at the same time, people got to eat out here, man. Like we can't be.
Oh, fuck that. That's not why. That's not the difference.
For black people?
Don't do that. Don't do that to white people.
White people got a lot of time, man.
I'm glad that's funny, but white guys clock, that shit was racist. So, I mean.
That's not racist to say white people have time.
That is to me. I don't. It's culturally offensive. I don't know. I'm feeling uneasy. I need to talk to somebody.
Yeah, but you got the resources for it.
I don't know how that's any different. Black people got a lot of time. White people got it's not universally applicable.
I don't mean time. I don't mean like actual time. I mean time to worry about whether Cam Newton offended a reporter. That's what I mean.
And you're talking about from your split test, basically, that you did. It was I talked to these black people.
White people are deeply offended. Like, oh, Cam Newton. Okay. Black people are like, I don't care.
Okay.
Gronk did the same shit. They didn't say anything about Gronk. And then because I have half white in me, I had to speak up. I'd be like, well, Gronk's not a quarterback. That's the difference. Gronk's not a quarterback.
The quarterback's responsible for the team.
He's just goofy old Gronk, and he can be sexist as much as he wants. He can go and throw down grilled chicken and hump people and have his party boat. That's all good. That's just Gronk being Gronk. But when Cam does it, he's a quarterback. It's a face organization. It's a valid point.
I'd like to denote I made an intentionally racist, funny comment. Nobody caught that. Okay, so you're right. And maybe the joke is there that white people have the time, but that's also to say that
I might need to qualify and just say white people who care about this.
Well,
ding, 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 ding.
White people who care about this, but it goes with everything that we care about in society is when you have the convenience to care about it. And I've referred to this many times. It was an incredibly well-written book, and I beg forgiveness for not remembering the author, but Like Water for Elephants. Was one of my wife's favorite books, but there's a great scene in the movie that there was abuse happening to an elephant, which was horrible. But the character that was abusing defended himself to another human being, saying, it's great that you stand up for the suffering of animals, but what it really tells me is you've never seen mankind suffer. So, there's something in that. Wherever we're closest to suffering, we're able to shut out maybe another party suffering. So to say that, white people really recognize that as sexism is probably accurate, because we were afforded the luxury of noting, hey, I don't have to worry about the racist shit that's happening to me, so I can point out that that's sexist. It's also important to note that you don't want to discount somebody's ability to do that because you're in a shitty spot. So it just as maybe it seems a little bit ridiculous that white person points out the sexism in Cam Newton's issue, one might say, well, it's also my lesser position in life that's made me not granted the ability to worry about that. So both are enviable. Both have value and need to be of note, whether you're too busy with your oppression to notice in others, or whether you've been able to craft the world to oppress everybody but you, and can denote the oppression of the other person. Both very important, both equally fucking forgotten about between races, cultures, whatever you have there. We get a chuckle.
Yeah,
and it's funny, but it's fucking.
I agree with a lot of those
important.
points you made. I agree with a lot of that. I think, and
like the Michael Vick thing and the dog abuse. Like, I knew that wasn't a thing. I knew that culturally speaking, going to be different between the two things, but that doesn't like say a negative about the other. It just says about maybe where a culture or race is in the world. It doesn't say anything inherently fucking negative about the race.
Right. And
being so goddamn sensitive.
No, I think it's a great point. I like a lot of those points because the only thing I'll push back on you on is I think that both cultures can say that it's sexist, no problem. One is saying why are we paying attention to this? It's importance in the priority of the world is like so low. Right. That it's not worth it's not worth mentioning. And then maybe another culture is like, no, this seems to be heightened. This is the problem with the world. The problem with the world is that guys like Cam Newton can say these kind of things and get away with it. Well, those days are over, and kind of make a deal out of it.
Or it's back to what we said earlier, and it's just shock jocking stuff. It's just everything. You just got to be sensitive about everything, because if you're not sensitive, you missed out on something. And can you imagine if, when he said it, the people that he said it to didn't feel offended? Then the people watching would have written letters and been like, I can't believe that you stood for his sexist comments and you're part of the problem. And, it's just crazy, man. Everybody's looking for a piece of this.
Yeah.
And I was happy about it. I was happy he said it. Because let me tell you what it did. It drove his FanDuel price down, and I rode that motherfucker to a nice payday this week, okay? It drove his pay. His price was nice. That's right. I started him, and I've had a nice little payday. And he plays the Eagles this next week on Thursday night, and if he could just say something else. If he could please just say something else stupid. That'd be so great.
Sounds like there's some chattel comments coming here. I don't want any part of
it. Okay, so Harvey Weinstein. So that happened this week.
He's an asshole. We always know.
Yeah, he has a reputation of being mean on set and mean to people. But now he has accusations that he has sexually assaulted a lot of women. And
it's the same thing, isn't it?
No, the last woman, the last woman who came out. Okay, this is where I have to be careful because the last woman that came out said that Harvey was in a place with her. I can't remember the place. Took his penis out,
basement somewhere. Yeah,
masturbated in front of her.
Locked the door.
Finished in a potted plant. This is not. I'm not joking.
I'm sorry. There's nothing funny about that. It's just except for ejaculating into a potted plant.
Yeah, he ejaculated in a potted plant, and he
outside of the harassment,
and he walked away. This was 10 years ago.
So I totally thought you said Harvey Feinstein.
No,
this guy talks like this,
no.
Right? And I'm thinking, did that happen when did this happen?
Yeah. This is the movie producer.
Are we talking about Hairspray? What the fuck y'all talking about?
No, but that's what this was 10 years ago. So I caught myself saying something out loud that might be heinous, which is, I'm sorry, but you're coming out now with this after all these other women came out and the dude has been given, the dude's on the hot seat right now. He's in big trouble. And now it's a pylon thing where am I missing something? Because my feeling is if somebody jacks off in front of you and busts a nut into a potted plant and you're deeply offended by it, don't you just go to the cops the next day or report it 10 years?
I don't know. What are you saying?
I'm saying she waited 10 years.
Dude jacked off in front of me. It's going to do no good.
Yeah, he jacked off in front of me 10 years ago, and now she's doing it and getting all this publicity for it. It's making him look like even more of a creep.
I'm not saying
what is happening
she's not
here?
Get publicity out of it, but she is. And look, this is,
and it's completely unprovable, Jason.
It is unprovable, unless you look at him. I'm sorry, it's judgmental. Okay. So, yes, I really hate wait, if it was a big deal then, why don't you say it now? But maybe more so with like a rape case, other than like if she'd have done this 10 years ago as a young lady with no clout, it probably wouldn't have done anything.
But what I don't like,
cause her turmoil.
Yeah, but Jason, what I don't like is all the fake praise. She got 100,000 tweets telling her how courageous she was. No, there's no courage coming 10 years later. There's no courage saying the dude jacked off in front of you.
That's not on her. I mean, like,
but
that's on the world.
But my point is about our culture. Like we had this culture where we're saying, what would have been courageous would have been to say it the next day. And maybe courage isn't the right word. And yes, rape is much different because then you can be shamed. But I feel like I grew up in an era where it was embarrassing and you'd be ashamed to announce that some other person jacked off in front of you to the world.
Right.
Like, where did that go? I mean, where did that embarrassment go? And what was it replaced with?
Teaching, I guess. I don't know. I don't. And I get, no, that's not fair because they wouldn't have taught little girls it's the same thing. But like, the only thing that my daughter needs to be ashamed of if she's in that situation, if he walked out of there with his teeth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, the only thing you have to say I'm not proud of myself for is that you stood there and took it. So I don't know. I don't know what we're teaching our children. I don't know where the value is. Is it brave afterwards to call somebody out when they've already been called out and you've got nothing to risk? It's not brave.
Well, look,
it isn't brave.
No, and look, Jason, I'm not pushing back on you, but you've said this a few times about your daughter. I'm going to teach her how to fight. I'm going to teach her how to claw. That guy better not leave it. That's a lot of tough talk. How about this? The guy's got one hand on his dick. Walk away. He ain't stopping you. You don't have to knock his teeth out. You don't have to be a fucking cowboy. Just walk away. This girl waited for him to finish into a potted plant. You know how long it takes to jack off a dry dick?
Sorry. Well, I don't know how Harvey does it. Might only take a couple seconds.
What kind of plant?
It does matter.
I sneezed. I'm sorry.
I mean, how soft is the soil? well done, Brian. Well done, Brian. But so I'm sorry. The point here that we're missing on the story is that he blocked the door. He wouldn't let her leave. Allegedly.
How big is this room, man?
It was. I don't know how big the fucking room is.
Well, if you know he blocked the door,
it was a kitchen.
It's a kitchen.
It was a small kitchen. It was a kitchen.
A kitchen with a door.
There was two people cooking. Rooms tend to have doors.
Kitchens?
Kitchens have doors.
I haven't been in a house with a kitchen with a door in my life.
It wasn't a house.
Oh, what was it?
It was an office of some sort, I think.
I haven't been in an office with a kitchen door yet either. My office has 3 kitchens. There's no doors on them. It's open space.
Look at you.
Most kitchens doors on the kitchens at my office.
Yeah, you can close yourself in the kitchen doors. At your office.
No, it's great too. Let me tell you, like every time somebody goes in there and burns fucking popcorn or cooks fucking fish, I go in there and I pull that door stop out.
Reheat any curry.
Brian, why can't people get popcorn right? It's been around forever.
Man, I don't know why people eat that shit. So that's just me. I don't know.
Of course, delicious, but why can't people get it right? It's just
fantastic.
Simple.
Because the instructions are wrong. That's why they can't get it right. Joey says 2 minutes, 30 seconds. You think you can put it in there for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's not the truth.
You know why?
That's not the truth.
Because it requires patience.
So, it
requires patience. It requires 2 things that people don't have nowadays, and that's focus and patience, because you have to start it, sit there and listen to it,
pops.
and focus on the pops. Right. And when it starts to not stop, that's when you pull it out.
And also tolerance for white things popping off. I mean, there's just no tolerance for it. So
here's the crazy thing about popcorn. That made no sense. Here's the thing about popcorn. Popcorn,
silver medal.
Yes, the distance, the time between that last kernel that pops and it being burnt is about 10 seconds. That's the problem with popcorn. When you hear that last kernel pop, if you go 10 seconds over, It's burnt. All of us burnt.
Well, that's what you got to stop it. That's the whole point. That's why you're sitting there watching it.
That's true, but I'm gonna. You challenged me, and I'm not gonna let that go because it was good. It was a good challenge, and I'm not gonna say that isn't gonna stand, but I was assuming from the way that the article that I read, it was that he blocked the door and forced her to witness this act. Because yes, the first recommendation or what you need to do is get yourself out of the situation. Mm-hmm. That's number one. I'm going with number two. Don't allow somebody to force you into a situation that you have to endure something because they have you scared. Mm-hmm. Don't do that, especially as a woman. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's unfair. I think they've been unfairly kind of historically placed in those situations where I should be scared of this. So I don't know. Maybe I'll temper that, punch him in the mouth a little bit.
I just have a problem with the way it happened, the way it was announced. It was like a press release. She could have got the same result privately. This is like the way in 2017. And again, completely unprovable. But now it's like, well, Harvey did all this other stuff to all these other girls. Yeah, he probably jacked off. And like, we're talking about it like it happened right now, for example.
I totally agree with you, but I don't want to like put this on any kind of let's weigh things out, because like if you trap somebody in a room and jack off into a plant and make them kind of watch, is there really like some petty way to pay them back 10 years later? No, you're a plant jacker. Are you kidding me? Like, if it's not true, okay, but I mean, I get what you're saying. Is that it's not provable. It seems poor form, but like the whole thing is poor form. So
it's poor. Yeah. What world do we live in?
If you ever forced anybody in any way to watch you jack off, you got what's coming to you.
Well, here's what should have came to him, because you said petty. I think there's a great way to get back with him that isn't petty. Instead of going on social media and saying that Harvey did this and releasing it to the news, just go to Harvey and say, remember that time 10 years ago when you jacked off in front of me and nutted into a potted plant? I won $1 million. No, pull a.
So extortion.
Yeah. If you're talking about getting back at him.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine.
And you're saying Harvey gets what he deserves.
Yeah. Sometimes extortion's just fine.
Yeah. If you're saying Harvey gets what he deserves, then okay, then.
Right. We paint terms like extortion and blackmail as always negative, but there's not always negative. There's some positives there.
And I disagree with it, because it's like a Kevin Hart situation. What'd you say, Nick?
I said, especially when used for revenge.
Right.
That's right. No. It's not like a Kevin Hart situation. Kevin Hart had sex with a willing participant. Let's not.
No. I don't mean the sex part. I mean the extortion part.
Well, it's totally different. You weren't extorting him because he did something bad to you. Harvey Weinstein did something bad to a person. If they pay that person back by saying, you did something bad and I'm going to use this to elevate my life, then I don't know what to say.
That's reparations.
Something bad.
Right.
Yeah. If you did something for mutual enjoyment or seeming mutual enjoyment, and go back to the male, because that's what we're talking about these days, you're a virus. You're feeding off somebody because they thought they were in something together and you were just there to fucking take them.
My point is that I think you're a virus either way, because the person Kevin Hart is his wife, right? So she was this unwilling participant that wasn't in the room. She didn't want him to do that shit. She has to deal with the embarrassment of it. And so that's why the extortion works. I don't think you should extort anybody, period. I think let the punishment fit the crime. I think if you jack off in front of somebody and force them to watch, which I'm having a hard time saying, I don't know how you force somebody to watch you jack off. Anyway.
Well, you can make them be in the room.
Right, but you can't force them to watch you. So that happens.
Everybody wants to watch a train wreck.
Then the
you just can't look away.
Exactly. Don't look down. Don't look down.
It's a fat man masturbating.
He's gonna hurt that aloe plant.
Aloe's the perfect plant, by the way. It's
soothing.
and relaxing. So, and by the way, Nick, when he nutted into the potted plant, did the plant remember it?
You stupid, man. But you know it did.
Joke.
But you know it did.
I threw that back. That's a throwback. Yeah. So the deal is that if he did that, then she should have reported it, and he should have to face the legal consequence. That's how the punishment fits the crime. But 10 years later is a total 2017 zeitgeist, I'm getting mine kind of shit. And we're all susceptible to it on one level or another. And it's terrifying. And we're bringing our kids into this world. What are we leaving them? And
we're telling them it's okay. It's okay not to stick up for yourself in the moment. Just kind of pay them back later. It's okay not to well, I mean, I don't know. Like for boys, it's a woman movement, and I think it's fantastic in that sense. But for boys, it's like everything that you say is on measure. It's on measurement. It has to be guarded and careful. I don't know. I think the only thing you can teach is I think the only thing you can respond to is my child, or in these situations that we're discussing, my male child will respond as I taught him. So, Michael Strahan, on one of the pregame shows, he was talking.
I like Stray.
Sunday about, mostly. I do. But he said something about, these guys just got to stop saying the stupid stuff, like Newton said. And I thought, no, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. Cam Newton shouldn't. I'm glad he said what he said. Now, for personal reasons, because I've always had a little sniff of who Cam Newton really was. But I think, look, if this is in your nature, let us know. Not only so we can stop saying maybe that you seem like a class act, but also that maybe you can help yourself. And this was self-help. I don't care if there's apology or not. Like, you don't do that unless you can come back a couple of days later and say, I really didn't mean it like that. Yeah, you did. Like, you don't do it unless there's disrespect in there. And there's disrespect in there, you can learn your way out of it. It's good for everybody. So.
Yeah, because I think part of it is his dad is a pastor, and you can just start there and keep going.
You can. It's not, maybe not totally fair, but maybe a little bit fair. Like, so, I get what you're saying. I mean, there's many aspects that you can throw into that. And, but I don't think anybody with a microphone should stop saying something stupid, including the guy that's talking right now on a microphone. Because when you do that, you let the world know who you are, and good or bad, sometimes that comes back to you and helps you out. So maybe it'll help Cam. I don't know, because it was a sexist, stupid comment, and your apology, and the apology was shit. So it was still self-interest.
Yeah, I didn't like the apology. He qualified the apology, and you never qualify an apology.
And then mention his sponsors. That's good. Good for you,
man.
There wasn't one single dab either.
Yeah, and we were waiting for that.
I was waiting. It was like if he really meant that, he would
dabbed at least once, right?
He's off the dab now. He's on Hit Them Folks. So.
Man, listen. I think the one thing that I would teach my kids about, based on this conversation and things that are going on, is just not to be distracted by this foolishness at all. Because generally I could care less what these people are doing. It's like there's a lot of hoopla around, even the questions you're asking, Chris. Like, I don't really care. Like, whatever he did, whatever they're doing, like, it doesn't need to be settled in my face. Like, settle that crap in court, or settle it, wherever you need to settle it. That's exactly my point. Business. Yeah, this is not my business. Like, the same thing with the Cam stuff. Like, whatever, man. I don't care what he said. I honestly don't. It's like all of that celebrity stuff is just a big distraction. Mm-hmm. And if we get caught up in debating all that stuff, and we're losing sight of the real stuff we need to be dealing with. So that's where it's kind of hard for me to even talk about the room and what's happening. I'm like, I I don't want to talk about that. It's
right? Because
nonsense.
If you could replay, if we could take that thing that you just said and then replay that next election time, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my point, Nick, is that it is unnecessary to ruin people's reputation and lives. Let it play out in private and let justice take course, even for celebrities, let's say. And Harvey's barely a celebrity. Only people that really love movies know who he is.
But it's also important to note that these are the celebrities. I mean, maybe weren't all, and many of us aren't, but whether our children are affected by the celebrities of their day or not, we do have to recognize that the people that they will eventually work with, vote with, drive with, live with, they will maybe to a greater degree have been affected by those celebrities. So there's a little bit something to call into to note there. Whether it's true celebrity and I guess we've made the presidency a celebrity now, so that all goes into there. Really, we're just replacing our British roots of royalty and slavery. But whatever works for you, just go ahead.
So is there this sense then, Jason and Nick and Brian, that the entire hyperbolic sort of movement, not even around feminism, but just around, well, maybe around feminism, is all a distraction?
I think it is. I think, anytime it's geared towards, I think you mentioned it before, anytime it's geared towards like one person, one sex, one gender, one color, whatever it is, I think either intentionally or unintentionally, it becomes a distraction, right? Because what ends up happening is a lot of this stuff is just divisive. Mm-hmm. So anything that's divisive in itself is a distraction from the real, the truth, the light, like where you're supposed to be going together, right? So it's right. I'm feminist and therefore I am not something else. I am, like we talked about Black Lives Matter. Well, then people start to say that means you're not something else. Like blue lives don't matter. White lives don't matter. There's this divisiveness to it that just, it's a huge distraction from what we should be doing collectively together. So, I think that's the way it is for me. I'm just like, some of this stuff is really annoying, when they bring it up and they pound on it and then that becomes the discussion. I mean, we could take this all the way back to the whole flag situation. I was like, can we stop talking about the damn flag? Like, it not only was it the flag, but now they're saying it's like, they're disrespecting the national anthem. And it's like, come on, we know that that's not what this conversation is supposed to be about. Mm-hmm. Right. But that is the conversation that everyone's having. It's a huge distraction.
And people get manipulated by it, man. I was at a bar in Baltimore. I promise you, this dude kept trying to. When a guy wants to fight you, he wants to start something with you. He keeps trying to make eye contact with you and see if you'll catch eyes. Yeah. He kept trying to look at me to see if I'd catch his eye because he was talking loud and cursing and being rude and stuff. And I just would look at him. I was like, you're not going to bait me into some fight with you, man. I'm not fighting about something that doesn't even matter. What we should be paying attention, if you love the military, what you should be paying attention to is this Liberty Bill that no one's talking about, which is the bill that rees up the bill that allows the NSA to spy on you. That thing is expiring, I believe, in 2 months. And there's a vote. It has to be renewed. And they're calling it the they're calling it the Liberty Bill.
It might not be coincidental why they don't know about it or why they're not paying attention to it, because they think that liberty has to do with a fucking football game and
or a flag.
I would tell everyone, every listener,
disrespects really is the soldiers, because those are the only real Americans are those who take up arms.
Mm-hmm. I would tell every listener, and you guys pay attention to the Liberty Bill and make sure it doesn't get passed. Because it's the law that allows the NSA to spy on you.
A lot of this is divisive, and a lot of it's distraction, and I get it. It's a good play. It's a solid play.
They always misname the bills too, don't they, Jason? The Patriot Act, and the Liberty Bill, Freedom Act.
Sure.
What?
Sure.
Like whenever they name the bill, it does the opposite.
That's generally the opposite.
It's not misnaming. You know what it's called. It's called propaganda, homie.
Healthcare reform.
They came up with a term for that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. The Family Care Act. Yeah. All these nifty little things that don't really help anybody that they touted that they're going to. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big thing. And you have to be careful of it. But, there's a lot to balance there with making, I don't know, being at least sensitive to the female kind of equality uprising and finding the place that they should be. And they should. But at no point should the rise to equality, and we've talked about this with a little bit of affirmative action, and that's kind of a whole other thing. But if you wish to raise, all parties up to a level of equality, make sure in the meantime that you don't try to oppress the other side.
Well, it's about the messaging, Jason. It's about the messaging. That's the terrifying thing. If the messaging goes out, you're going to have a mass amount of people believe it. And that's why certain religions are so effective. And people have to be careful when they talk about Muslims and Islam Islam, because if they say the wrong thing, their followers might come kill you. The reason slavery worked is because smart men, manipulative men, were able to convince less smart men that, yes, they were the superior race. And because of that, this is God's right. This is God's plan for us to have these slaves. And then they go out and become the foot soldiers, the minions that act upon these things. So that's the terrifying thing for our kids right now. I think the terrifying thing in this culture is that the messaging is, we now have a stream, a way to give this message over and over and over and over again to mass culture. And it doesn't take as we saw in Vegas, it doesn't take a lot of bad apples to turn the world on its ear. So that messaging just has to get to a few people and be effective. And that's what I'm most afraid of. And now I'm all of a sudden in the mood to watch Century of the Self again. Just go revisit that documentary, one of the best documentaries of all time. So, and any closing thoughts about this, guys?
Just don't be distracted by this stuff. Take care of your family. That's where I'm at right now, man. There's so much of this stuff going on. It's like I can't even pay attention to it. I can't give much time to it. And but the one thing that I can say that this has made me think more about recently, and I say this, it's all of this stuff we're talking about, all this violence, all the divisiveness, all the sides people are taking, is that basically I don't think there's any reason, any value in being against anything. I think you got to be for something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. That's a great point.
And that's it.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to spend your life in apology for your station, maybe your natural born station, whether it's being a man and those natural tendencies, which that may have natural tendencies, or being black or white or Asian or gay or straight. Like you don't have any apologies to go, and you don't have to be anti something else. You just have to be pro everybody.
There we go. I love it. All right, boys. That was a good one. I enjoyed it. To all those folks out there that have been listening to us, you've been listening to the Married Not Dead podcast. To find show notes, read awesome blog posts, to find links to all of the products or services suggested during the show, please visit our blog at marriednotdead.org. If you haven't already, you can join our podcast tribe on the Apple Podcast app, SoundCloud, or the podcast app of your choice. After you subscribe, please don't forget to rate and review. It's very important, and we'll definitely owe you one. We are all over the internet, as you may know by now. You can follow and find all of us on Twitter and Instagram at _Married Not Dead, or on Facebook by searching for the Married Not Dead podcast page. So until next time, on behalf of Nicholas Buggs, Brian Comer, and Jason McConnell, I'm Chris Barkley. See you next week.
Talk to y'all later.
All right, boys.
All right.
I'm loading
All
today.
right, peace.
Peace.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/MND podcast. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from, including one of my personal favorites, How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia by Mohsin Hamid. Do not judge this book by its title. The ending had me crying in the middle of a 4-hour flight to Los Angeles. It's made even better by Mohsin's narration, and you can download How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia or any other audiobook of your choice today. Again, for listeners of the Married Not Dead podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. So, to download your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/MND podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/MND podcast to get your free audiobook today. You will not regret it.